We're starting our last week here in the General Assembly, but I wanted to take a second and share with you something that happened yesterday on the floor of the House of Delegates. You've heard me talk many times about how humbling it is to serve in the General Assembly here, the oldest legislative body in the Western Hemisphere, where you do truly follow in the footsteps of Jefferson and Henry. And I never thought anything could be more humbling than that, but yesterday I found differently. On the floor of the House of Delegates, Delegate Jackson Miller got up and shared a story. And I don't want to talk too much about that story. I want you to hear it the same way I did for the first time, straight from Delegate Jackson Miller, who I put that video below. But I wanted to make a request. There's so many people out there that have stories like the one you're about to hear. It's either yourself or your grandparents, your parents, your uncles, your aunts, who have stories about sacrifice and overseas to provide so much freedom and opportunity here for my generation and future generations. And those stories need to be told, not by books and not by movies. They need to be told by the people that were there. It needs to put that personal face to them. And I hope you'll listen to that video below and then take a second, and if it's yourself, go talk to your children or your spouse and let them videotape the story from you. If it's someone you know, if it's an aunt or an uncle or a parent or a grandparent, go convince them to let you videotape them talking about that sacrifice that was made to protect our freedoms and opportunities here. We have so much opportunity and freedom, and so much, unfortunately, is taken for granted because we don't hear these stories or there's not a personal face associated with them. But capturing these stories will do two things. First, it'll help our nation remember what people did to make sure that those freedoms and opportunities were protected for future generations to come, and what truly was involved. And to be able to look back, and if I had been alive 40 years ago and had been the age of the gentleman that you're going to hear about in the video below, it very well could have been me over there asked to go make those sacrifices. At the same time, it helps family members know what their grandparents and parents and uncles and aunts did to help provide their freedoms. And additionally, look back, and all of us have times in our lives where we think the world's crumbling around us. It's just part of life. But I know, me personally, that I will never have a time in my life that's near as bad as my grandfather did in World War II in the foxholes in Germany. And I know that the gentleman you're going to hear about in the video below, well, his children and nieces and nephews will never have a time in their life as difficult as that gentleman had 46 years ago. So it helps those people not only put things in perspective, but to realize that that same DNA that's in my grandfather's in me, and if that DNA helped him get through those times, well, that DNA surely can help me get through what I may be facing. And the same thing for the children and nieces and nephews and grandchildren of the gentleman you're going to hear about, and others around the country. So I hope you have a second to listen to the video below, and then I hope over the weekend maybe you're able to go out and, like I said, you yourself record a video if you happen to give the sacrifice to our nation. And if you have, thank you very much. And if you know of others that have, to please go convince them to do the same. That generation that gave so much is the generation that unfortunately is least likely to talk about what they gave, but they really need to, so the future generations can understand why they have the freedoms they have today.